Good morning and welcome back to Morning at NTV. This is the Take Note segment, and today we'll be talking about matters financial literacy, financial planning, budgeting. Is it important, and why should you take this seriously on your day-to-day basis? And in studio today, I have Jane Amuge-Okello, who is the financial advisor and a consultant as well. You do many things. You're also a director for...
I'm the Director for Business Development at Centric Limited.
Correct. So in studio, that's what she'll be focusing on. You're the big person when it comes to matters financial advising and all that. Before we went on a break, the first segment and the second segment, we were talking about insurance. And many people are saying, insurance is for the rich. My income cannot allow me to, get into insurance and all these other things. Let's talk about budgeting. Why is budgeting important? Because on a day-to-day basis, we find ourselves in this situation where we feel, okay, fine, I know what I'm supposed to spend on rent, I know what I'm supposed to spend on leisure, on all these other factors, but we never put it down and we never hold ourselves accountable for what we spend. Why is budgeting important?
For personal financial management or institutional financial management, it's important that we start with a plan. And a budget is a plan. Now, several people don't actually plan for their lives. People live by the day, events happen and then tomorrow you're lamenting.
Yes.
And people don't take that step to think that I could actually plan for my life, and what are those important things that I need to plan for. I must say everything is important. There is no one thing that you can ignore and not impact on your life. So budgeting is a very crucial part of life that we therefore need to come up with what our visions for our lives is, or what the vision for your institution is. And in this visioning, knowing where you want to be, then you can come up with a budget. Now, of course, your budget should be taking care of your long-term, medium, and short-term goals. And in that, it's usually good to have a priority list, that you list everything that you actually desire to plan for, and then on that long list of things or wish list, you can then start picking the priorities. Many a times people focus on the usual daily expenses like rent, transport, going out for young people, and people don't think about things like death, because it's scary to think that you're going to die, but then it's here with you. It's scary to think that a relative could call you that someone has passed on, and then you have a funeral expense. So it's always those things that people want to distance themselves away from, that are not planned for, and yet they're actually here.
Correct. So
budgeting is very important. And in terms of personal financial management, if you don't budget for your life, everything is going to be an occurrence that you're having to deal with. So my urge for people is actually that you need to take that step. People have these annual ambitions that at the end of this year, I would like to have a house, I would like to get married, I would like to have these things. But if you actually don't plan for it, the likelihood that you're going to burden your neighbors is very high.
It's true, fundraising.
Exactly. When it comes to marriages, then you have this, everybody's bombarded with the text messages about your marriage. So it's usually important that you take that responsibility. It's taking care of your life with a direction.
Okay, let's before we get into the long term, like you said, planning or saving up for eventualities or for your future. How about the household level? What essentials when you're budgeting for your household, be it you're a single person or your family person, what are the essentials that you should never miss out for when you're budgeting?
I think borrowing from Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there are certain things that are essential, like rent. How many times do you get a friend telling you that I haven't paid my rent dues, and yet they've bought a new bag, And how many times do you get someone calling you that they are stuck in the hospital and they actually don't have money to pay a bill? And it's because they haven't looked at things like, I must have rent. I must set aside money for emergency, because it happens at the household level.
Correct.
You're a parent and the maid has called you the child is burnt, and you're so broke that you can't even run to the nearest health facility. So health is a very important component of household planning that needs to be taken care of. But even bills, it's embarrassing to go home and you don't have your car, and you're driving a Porsche car, And you need to plan for transport. You can't be walking in the rain. So those things that are immediate to the family. And food. How many times do do families run out of food? Because nobody's planning for it.
Yes.
Even if we had shambas in the village, you need to plan for that shamba.
Yeah.
So there are those things that are related to your day-to-day needs.
And
that you
is
need to
there
plan
a percentage that should go to what, all these other aspects? For example, health. What percentage of my income should I allocate for health and emergencies?
Just like you see our government planning for us every year, luckily we are going to have the annual budget presented to us.
Yes.
I think the size of the family or the household is very important in terms of allocating even the percentages that you'd like to save for. A family that has no children will probably have specific percentages that would go to things like education of the husband or the wife, or things to do with where I want to live. But then when you have the family the children in the home, then the ratios will differ. So I don't have a prescribed figure for how much should go in for health or how much should go in for transportation. It really depends on the size of your family. But also another thing that households should be taking care of is beyond the usual, we need to make saving as a budget expense. Like you're going to put aside money for saving.
Okay.
And you're going to put aside money for investment as well. Because you see, saving has a bit of a short-term element to it, but investment has a long-term element to it. So it's important that as you put aside monies, for Christians will say that there's 10% that needs to go for tithe, that needs to be budgeted for.
Yes.
And then the savings component needs to be about 30% of what you earn. And the other 20% would probably go to investment. That means ideally everyone can live on 50% of their usual monthly expenses.
Because that's an issue. We end up spending so much or everything of what we earn.
Exactly.
And like you told me just before we went on air, is you need to, if you want to build wealth, then spend less than what you earn.
Exactly.
So like you're saying, it's 50%.
It's 50%. You can actually live on it. I was telling a friend recently that I put on so much weight when I gave birth last year. But then I went back to the basics. I said I can actually eat greens, and I'm fine about it.
Yeah.
And that cut a lot of my expenses without targeting expense as an issue. It was an issue of weight that I was focusing on. So think about even the things that you eat can be an expense that you don't need.
Correct.
Yes. So it's even the habits. Probably there are guys who don't go to bed without drinking, and they must drink.
Yes.
So if you think about the money that you're spending on alcohol, you think about the money you're spending on taking girls or your boyfriends out, and you don't have a strategy for your life. So it's really taking care, being deliberate about your life's plans. If you're not deliberate about it, it's those things that actually are not so important that get the attention for money.
Yeah, you actually mentioned that investment is part of it. Yes. And we've been having a conversation with you, and you always tell me that savings is not sufficient enough. You always have to save with an end in mind, and savings is just a means to that end, and that end is investment.
Yes.
How then can we go about growing our monies? Because many people will say, I'm not saving up or putting money aside for health, emergencies, because I earn so little. Even before I budget for my rent, and that's why I have rent in arrears, my landlord is on my case. It's because I don't earn enough. How can someone watching us today who feels like they don't earn enough and they have so many bills to tackle, they don't even think about insurance, saving up for whatever issues, how can they go about growing that money? What options are there? Actually,
again, I like going back to basics. Even if you earn 100,000, it simply probably means that you walk to work. Persons that are earning about 100 or 150,000 are people that probably don't pay transport. So in that 150,000 or 100,000, even just saving 100 shillings makes a lot of difference.
Per day?
Yes, because if you put aside 100 shillings in a day times 30, that's 3,000. You're still better off than someone who lives over and above, their usual incomes. So everybody actually has an opportunity to save. One of the people that strike me as people that are looking at micro savings or micro insurance are actually the Muslim society. I know of a strategy that has been applied that everybody saves mia. That is 100 shillings, you know. And mia, imagine there are like 100,000 Muslims in a day and they're saving 100 shillings.
Wow.
That's like 1 million shillings or 10 million shillings a day.
Yes.
Now, it just simply means that if you're in a household and everybody was doing their part, the husband was saving, the wife was saving, everybody was saving, or you're in the village and you have a clan savings group, or you have a bigger family and everybody was putting aside even 1,000 shillings, in the event of death, in the event of disease, there's somewhere for you to go back to. But many times we are burdening the few people that are working. You find phone calls about somebody has passed on, somebody is sick, yet actually where you are, you can actually make that impact. You can put aside money. So everybody has the ability to save. They just need to know that it is their responsibility.
So it doesn't matter what fraction, just be consistent at it.
Just be consistent. And also the amounts may matter, because if you have your long, medium and short-term goals, then you need to work at it, you know. So you could start with 1,000 shillings, but then you're thinking, I have put aside this habitual expense I've been having, so I have more money saved to the pool. So if, for instance, we women love to shop, maybe you have so many pairs of shoes and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to stop shopping, you know. I'm going to use what I have. Then the monies you've saved from the shoes expense, then you'll increase your saving. If you're doing 100,000 a month, you can now do 300, because all these tiny nitty-gritties sometimes come with a lot of expense.
It's so true. But okay, I've saved, and maybe after a year I've reached my goal. Maybe I wanted to save up, let's say 500,000 in 1 year. Then where should I take this money? What investment options are available for me to grow that money? And maybe, because that money will internally or eventually help me achieve my long-term goals. Maybe I want to purchase X land that I saw somewhere. How then do I go about investing that 500 shillings that I've saved for that year? What options are there?
There is a whole lot of options for wealth creation, or rather investment. Yes. Let's look at the passive forms of investment. Passive in the sense that you're not going to go to your garden to dig. We have banks that have savings accounts, so you can start with that, and sometimes there are minimums to it. You can then also go in for...
So for the bank, you wait for your interest to grow, and that's how
okay. So there are savings products for that. Others are fixed, others are not.
Correct.
Then you have life companies, or you have investment houses like Stanley, UAP, that offer investment options where you can save a minimum of 100,000 a month or 10,000, depending on what the product is. So then you can as well give Stanley, or you can give UAP your money, and then it grows while you do something else. So then you can buy bonds. Government several times comes to the market to borrow money from the public.
How does one go about the bonds?
Exactly. So you can buy bonds as a primary dealer, like going direct to buy the bonds for yourself, or you go through the secondary market, which is usually dominated by the commercial banks, the likes of Standard Chartered, the likes of Stanbic. So you go through them, and then you're able to access. You can buy bonds a minimum of 100,000, or if you have so much, you can keep growing your bond portfolio.
And are they secure? Because many people will say, I'm not so sure about investing in bonds and stock and the stock market, because I don't know when the market is going to go up or low. I'm not sure if I'm going to earn dividends out of my investment. How safe will our money be there?
So again, there is importance for financial literacy, because bonds are just a section of the capital market assets that someone can invest in.
Correct.
Bonds can be corporate bonds offered by commercial businesses. Like MTN could actually float a corporate bond to get money from the public and invest and give you a return. Government is usually looked at as the most secure borrower, because they collect tax and all this. They have the infrastructure. So there are treasury bills that run between 3 months to a year, and then there are bonds that go above 1 year and 20 years, depending on how long you want to keep your money there for. So for the bond, the return is guaranteed. You're given a specific coupon. The interest is called a coupon. So if you bought a bond and the coupon is 20%, it means that after the 1 year period, you're going to be earning 20% of the money that you've invested. All you need to do is to wait. Sit back, wait for that time. Good thing about bonds is, for the coupons, they're paid every 6 months. So if you're a person that has invested so much, those coupons can actually be your cash that you earn on a regular basis. Now, there are people that have actually put in their retirement monies in bonds, and those monies produce very often, and that is what they use for their daily expenses as they wait for bigger things, bigger expenditures in the future.
So we have bonds.
We have shares for those who are looking long-term investment. If you don't have a company of your own, you can buy shares in Umeme, you can buy shares in Stanbic, you can buy shares in virtually any business that makes economic sense to you. So it's for you to see where you want to stake your money, but you can start a business. Now, this is a thing.
Let's still stick to shares.
Yes.
I've had instances where people have actually lost their money. So for a beginner, someone who has never actually invested in shares, they don't know what this game is all about, what should they look out for, like the telltale signs? Or before buying shares of a particular company, what information should they look out for before they make that commitment?
Usually, if it's a new company, there is an IPO, that's initial public offer, which comes with a prospectus on how the company has been working for the last 3 or 5 years. So you're able to look at the profitability, you're able to look at the ethical conduct, because certain businesses come with, people have interest in how they are conducting themselves. For instance, the oil companies, sometimes people are worried that maybe they are encroaching on the environment, so people that have an ethical feel in it, they may not buy shares in those companies. So it's really for someone interested in growth. You're looking at its potential. What is the market that is going to consume this product or service? Umeme came in, and people that invested in Umeme made a lot of money.
Correct. But
now there are conversations on the stability of Umeme. You've had all that is happening. And those are the things that will make someone feel like, I'm going to stay in Umeme or I'm going to exit at this stage. So it's usually being awake, being aware of the environment, making sure that you understand this company and that you agree with its ethical principles and its strategy. Every business has a strategy.
Do your research and actually check their background. Have they been making money, losing money? Are they
and
stable
what are the
enough?
reasons why they're making money? Because sometimes it's short-lived.
Oh, okay.
There could be a spark.
And you also said starting a business, and
Yes.
that is another whole ball
Lot
game.
of it, yes.
And I'll be bringing you back here just to speak about that. Budgeting for a business, how to
Yes.
grow it from one level to the other. If
Sure.
you've loaned your money for you to start, how then do you scale it up? Before we go to a close, there's this issue of, and many I'm sure are culprits of this, you get a salary increase, or you're promoted, or you get a new job, and immediately you're, lured into increasing your lifestyle, getting it to the next level. At what point should someone adjust his or her lifestyle after getting a salary increment?
Again, back to the basics. Who are you living your life for?
Yes.
If you're living your life for the public, then care about who cares that you're driving a Vitz. Okay?
Yes.
If you're living your life for you, then you'll be thinking, this opportunity of a new job could actually get me a plot of land. It could get me a house. So if we start living our lives for us, then every decision that we'll take will come back to us.
Correct.
Because I was just joking with a friend of mine on Friday, and they're like, the challenge with us, we live in town. When we go to the village, the day you die, people wonder what happened to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's about you. If you come from a peasant home, if this extra income can get you to even change the livelihoods of the people that are around you, then that's a plus. Because if you have many dependents, then even the extra income that you've got in a salary rise or a better job will go to the drains, because it's all about you. It's about a new car, a bigger house, and all these things.
Yeah.
So
and all these other things come with liabilities.
Exactly.
You have to service that car for you to maintain it.
Yes.
So it will end up eating into your money, and you'll become poorer instead. So invest it instead, or invest in people around you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming in
Thank
studio.
you so
We'll
much.
need to have you back again so we can unleash and analyze these issues in depth. Thank you so much. That has been it. Ensure that you live your life for you. In case you get a salary increment today, don't think of buying that new car you've always looked at, that new house you've always admired. First invest, let that money grow, and then maybe you can start upscaling your lifestyle. So that has been our classroom for today on Take Note. Be sure to catch us same time, same place tomorrow from 6:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. My name is Malaki Vilodera. Have a blessed day.